There's something scientists discovered that sounds more like ancient mysticism than physics, a truth so disturbing it shattered our understanding of reality. And it starts with this: reality only exists when you observe it. What you're about to learn in this video could change the way you see everything: your thoughts, your life, your past, even your future. This is the observer effect. And once you understand how it works, you'll never look at your life the same way again. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you how to use this quantum secret, not just to understand the universe, but to change your reality from the inside out. Let's begin with something most people never question. We're taught that reality is solid, that the world is made of objects, measurable, predictable, mechanical. We're taught that what we see, hear, and touch is real, and that our thoughts, our imagination, our intentions, just fluff, just the byproducts of brain chemistry. But what if that's not true? What if the truth is much stranger? Because when you cross a certain line in physics, a line that classical science refuses to acknowledge, you step into a space that looks a lot like ancient mysticism. You enter a realm where thought influences matter, where the observer shapes the observed, and where reality is not something out there, but something born inside you. Welcome to quantum mechanics, and more specifically to the one idea that shook the very foundation of everything we thought we knew: the observer effect. Let me ask you something. Tree falls in a forest, and no one is around to hear it. Does it make a sound? Now take that further. If a particle exists in a state of probability, as all quantum particles do, and no one observes it, is it even real? Physicist Vera Heisenberg, one of the founding fathers of quantum theory, once said, what we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning. In other words, reality responds to the way we observe it. It's not just there waiting to be seen. It becomes real through our interaction with it, and that's where everything starts to break down, because this idea that consciousness, the simple act of awareness, plays a role in shaping reality, throws a wrench into everything science used to believe. In the old Newtonian view of the world, the universe was like a giant machine. Every gear had a purpose, every action had an equal and opposite reaction. Everything was physical, measurable, and separate. But then came Max Planck, the father of quantum physics. He discovered that energy is not continuous, but exists in tiny packets, called quanta, and he didn't stop there. In one of his most overlooked but most powerful statements, he said, "I regard consciousness is fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. Let that sink in, not the other way around. Consciousness comes first, matter comes second. That means reality doesn't create you, you create reality." And yet this idea isn't new. Mystics, sages, and spiritual teachers have been saying the same thing for thousands of years. Buddha taught that the mind is the forerunner of all things. Neville Goddard claimed that imagination is the only reality. Even the ancient Hermetic texts declared the all is mind. So how is it that science, the most rational of all disciplines, has stumbled into a truth that spirituality has known all along? Because when scientists tried to peer into the quantum world, they found something unexpected. They found themselves, their presence, their observation, their intention. It all affected the outcome of the experiment. Reality stopped being something objective. It became personal. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're looking at a blank canvas. You haven't painted anything yet, but you have a brush in your hand. That's the quantum field, pure potential. Nothing has collapsed into form yet, but the moment you decide what to paint and start applying that brush, something begins to emerge. That act of observing, of focusing, of choosing, is what collapses the infinite possibilities into one visible outcome. This is what the observer effect is all about. The universe doesn't operate independently of you. It's not just something out there for you to measure. You're participating, you're influencing, you're creating. And the line between science and spirituality, it's not a wall, it's a doorway, a threshold, one that once crossed changes you forever. Because if your observation shapes reality, then who are you really? And what else have you been creating without even knowing? In the next chapter, we're going to explore the famous double-slit experiment, the scientific test that exposed the truth behind this phenomenon and proved once and for all that the act of observing doesn't just measure reality, it creates it. If you're resonating with this so far, stay with us. It only gets deeper, and remember to comment below, "I am the observer," to affirm this truth in your consciousness. Do you know the experiment that broke reality at the dawn of the 20th century? Physics was on the edge of something massive. For centuries, science had operated like clockwork, predictable, reliable, Newtonian. Everything had a place, everything had a cause. The world was a machine, and we were just gears in it. But then a group of scientists decided to investigate the tiniest building blocks of our universe, particles so small they couldn't even be seen. And that's when everything unraveled. They designed a simple test, something almost childish in its simplicity. It would later become known as the double-slit experiment. Here's how it worked. Imagine a solid wall with two vertical slits, like two open doors on one side of the wall. Is a device that shoots tiny particles, electrons, one at a time on the other side, is a screen that captures where those particles land. If you shoot particles through the slits, you'd expect them to go through one or the other and hit the screen in two clear lines, just like tennis balls through a gate. And when scientists ran the experiment, that's exactly what happened. When they measured which slit the particles went through, the electrons acted like particles. Two clear lines appeared on the screen. Simple. But then they did something strange. They ran the same experiment, but this time they didn't observe the path of the electrons. No detectors, no measurements, just pure transmission. And what they saw shocked them. Instead of two lines, the electrons formed an interference pattern like ripples in water, as if the electrons were behaving like waves, not particles. Let me repeat, that when not observed, the particles acted like waves, but the moment they were observed, they collapsed into particles again, as if the act of watching forced them to choose a location. Let that sink in. When no one was looking, reality existed in a state of probability of infinite potential. But the moment someone observed it, it snapped into form. What does that mean? It means the electrons, the building blocks of matter, behave differently depending on whether or not they are being observed. And this wasn't a one-time glitch. It's been repeated again and again and again. Every time, the same result. Observation changes outcome. Awareness alters reality. Now the implications of this are enormous. It means that at the quantum level, the level that builds everything, particles don't have fixed positions or behaviors. They exist as waves of probability until a conscious observer shows up. The act of measuring them, looking at them, focusing on them, collapse is the wave into a particle. This is what physicists call wave function collapse, and what mystics have always called manifestation. So what's really going on here? In simple terms, until something is observed, it's not real. It's potential. Reality is not made of things, it's made of potential things that become real when observed. This is why your consciousness is not passive, it's creative. And this is where science meets spirituality again. Now here's where it gets even more mind-blowing. In an upgraded version of the experiment known as the delayed choice quantum eraser, scientists prove that even the decision to observe something after it has already happened can still change the outcome. That means time doesn't even behave the way we think. The future observation can affect the past result. We are not just shaping reality in the present moment. Our conscious observation may actually ripple through time. So what does this mean for you? It means your attention, your focus, your awareness is an instrument of creation. Right now you're surrounded by infinite possibilities. In the quantum field, anything is possible, but only one version. We collapse into your reality. The one you observe is real. This isn't philosophy, it's physics. You are the observer, but you're not just watching life happen, you're creating it as you look. And here's the twist. Most people don't know they're doing this. They observe with doubt, they observe with fear, they focus on what's missing. And so the universe keeps collapsing. More of that. But once you learn to observe intentionally, once you master the art of placing your awareness on what you want, not what you fear, you shift timelines, you change the field. In the next minutes, we're going deeper. You'll discover how you are constantly collapsing your reality, even if you've been doing it unconsciously, and how you can take the power back. First, take a moment, look around you. The objects in the room, the light, the temperature, your body, your breath, it all feels solid, stable, real. But what if I told you that everything you see right now was chosen not randomly, not by accident, but through your awareness, through your focus, through your observation? You are not a passive witness in the universe. You are not watching a movie someone else wrote. You are the observer, and the script responds to you. This isn't poetic, it's quantum. Because here's what the double-slit experiment truly reveals. When we connect it to consciousness, wherever you place your focus, you collapse a version of reality into existence, and wherever you withdraw